Yes, hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the FIFA status. You know, the FIFA status also is one of the first things that at least most people always don't recognize, or they always feel like there's less need to study it. But today, this is also part for our study material. So we're going to be looking at the FIFA status, then to look at definitions and a lot of things. Just the FIFA status today, then we're going to go into the exam questions as we always do, run through it. So we're going to be looking at things like definitions, FIFA as a whole, as a global football body, association, the association. We are going to look at the league. We're going to look at clubs. We're going to look at player, licensed by the association. We're going to look at confederation, which is like continental body. Example like the CAF, UEFA. We're also going to look at the Congress, which is like the highest decision-making body in football. Many people don't know, but at least we're also going to look at the council, which is equal to like strategy and oversight. We're going to look at the IFAB, which controls law of the game. And then we're also going to look at stakeholders, which is club, players, fans, leagues. So we're going to start with definitions, and these are the things we're going to look at so that to try to give you guys some little bit of details about status. So today is just going to be about FIFA status. Then we're going to answer questions, fast questions on it. And hope people digested the last topic, the last study we did last time, and I hope you people are studying because the time is running out. So today is FIFA status, as you can see from thumbnail. The FIFA status actually is one of those topics that many people don't really pay attention to, which is, I understand that when I think many people don't like to talk about the law of the game, because the law of the game is almost like something that you are not in football just to talk about law. You're in football to maybe to get the entertainment part, but of course you have to get idea about what is the law. So, but many people are not really always interested. But for your case as FIFA license, or I don't want to say FIFA license, for people who are writing the exam as FIFA license agent, you need this to be able to get through the exam, because you might get few questions here and there, and then you try to answer it. But the FIFA status most of the time is more of definition and then knowing the what actually is happening there. You hardly get so many questions there. So without delaying, let's go straight. As I already gave you a little bit of the program, what we'll be speaking about. Excuse me. So so just try to get what you can get from this, because I think it's one of also those topics that is challenging, because people don't like it, because it doesn't have a lot of things to do, like transfer, registration as an agent. But again, it is with you knowing the organizations that are actually running the game. Okay, so let's go straight into it. So first we'll be looking at what FIFA actually does, and what is the objective of FIFA. So we're going to look at, of course, we know FIFA is the football governing body, but what it actually does, that is something that also many people don't actually know. Many people actually think like FIFA just in charge of making people play football, but to refresh your brain for the exam, then these are a few things you can just get into your brain, then it's more easier. So what FIFA does, actually, the objectives are develop and promote football globally. So if you are ever in charge, or trying to play the game, FIFA is the one developing and also promoting it. Organize international competitions, as you can see, the World Cup. Now they have brought what we call the Club World Cup, that was played the first time. That and many people were not in support of it, but actually that's the first time, and the next time it will be hosting after another 4 years. It also create and enforce rules due to various sites that it has created that handles that. For example, we have, if it's like something about disputes, you have a lot of departments that handle those things. It also protects the integrity of the game. That's a rule. That's their objective. They also protect the integrity of the game. For example, what do I mean by integrity? Like no corruption, doping, match fixing. So when FIFA catches you doing this, then there's always like a suspension, a fine, whatsoever. So, and then it promotes also women football, youth football, and also equality and access. So you in overall, FIFA is a governing body that controls all these things. Okay, so what are the core principles? So you can so first core principle is like human right, and human right must be respected. So FIFA is actually very serious on this. Human right must be respected. Political and religious things are like they are neutral to it. They are neutral to it. They don't actually take sides on anything. Fair play and integrity is a must. Those kind of things. So, and then relationships in football, FIFA promotes cooperations between association, clubs, and players. So these are also very important things that you can also take note of. And then they also resolve disputes, as especially if you have disputes that between clubs, between whatsoever part based on various departments, they have people resolve dispute, and these are things that you have to have an idea of. And also they have various committees like the ethics committees and whatsoever committees that handle various disciplinary situations. And you as an agent, most of the time they can ask you a question coming from ethics committee, or something coming from what is the rule of ethics committee, just for example, like that. So those are things that they can actually come, and then you have to have an idea of how to tackle it, or if not tackle it, you know how to use the material. Okay. That's what I first spent time. Okay, hello guys again. Let's see. That's what I first spent time for it. Time on it for sure. Yes, it's nice, but don't spend too much time on the FIFA status. Yeah, but I understand you want to know because it's like the beginning part of the study material. But don't spend too much. My advice is don't spend too much time on it. But yes, you can spend time on it, but create more time on the RSTP and FFAR than with other topics. For sure, a question or a few questions can come here, but most of the questions will not come from here. But the funny thing about exam, that's why I always say it's like challenging exam, because if you have two questions from the FIFA status, that's still huge with an exam like this, because they say the pass rate is, I mean, you have to pass 15, and passing 15 means if let's say two questions came from the FIFA status, and then you don't even know what it is, which means you're already working on, you cannot fail more than three again. You understand? So that's one of the things that's complicated with the exam. Just that it's people think that why is it not that it should be like you pass at least 10, and if you fail 10, you have passed like how a normal exam is. But they are putting it that you have to pass 15. So if you imagine that people who have passed the exam, actually some may have gotten, maybe failed just one. Because if you think of an exam, normally an exam is always set in a way that you pass. If you pass half, or if you pass 50%, let's put it that way, then that's fine. But this is like you have to pass 75%, which means it's really, really high. And then let's say, and the FIFA rule is quite tricky, but you can understand it if you focus, and study it most. Yeah, it's quite, of course, like that. As I said earlier, if you keep time, if you try practicing and doing it, it's always helpful. That's very what you said. Yes, that's very important. Like on something like the FIFA status, what I used to always do is, or advise people is, because it's a lot of definition. Sometimes when I used to study, I would print the study materials. I had the study materials I know I was going to use, but I printed the study materials that I printed part, like I just had a page that was just meant for the table of content. Like for example, I had the status of, I mean, I had the table of content for FIFA status. I had a table of content for ethics code, a table of content for disciplinary code. I had a table of content for RSTP, Football Tribunal, FIFA Clearinghouse, FFAR, and then I didn't have the table of content for safeguard. But most of those things, what I mean by I had the table of content is I just printed only the table of content on a white sheet, clipped it a little bit with a clipper. So what I used to, so when I would just be on my sofa with behind it, and I would just like, I can do this. I would just probably just sit, go through a table of content, trying to make sure that I know where this belong, just to master, just to be looking. Then I can read the table of content. So I was trying to get to know a lot of the table of content, because actually, if you know a lot of the table of content, then you are quite in also a good place when to know how to use the study material. So that was one thing that I wanted to also know, the table of content. But how many questions we should expect from the FIFA status? That's what you cannot really expect. You don't really know how many questions you expect. That's what the exam is. It's just like you might get one question from FIFA status, and in this exam, one is huge, because if you fail that one, which means you are just left to fail just four. So that's the thing. So you might get just one question, and you might get two. So we don't know. That's one thing that yeah, we don't know. So it's just to try to have an idea on what to read. But what we know is the structure of the exam, that there are certain parts that the exam is really focused on, no matter how the exam is set. But there are certain parts that the exam is really focused on, like the RSTP and the FFAR. So for example, if someone walks into the exam hasn't, that you have not read the FFAR, I will say there's no point for you to write that exam, because if an exam is coming, then the FFAR is almost like close to 40% of the questions, almost close to, yes. So then the RSTP takes like close to 30%. So if you don't read most of those two topics, let's take for example one of them, because you have to know, you have to be familiar with them. And the thing is that also the RSTP is quite too lengthy. So I encourage reading it more. It will help, because 21 days, of course, is still long to prepare. That's more than 1 month. Now we're under 17. No, not 21 days. Now we're under 17. So 1 month, actually, you still have a month and a week. Let's take, for example, a month and a week or so, or more than even. So 21 days is, or 21, why do I keep saying 21 days? So 1 month on it, or more than 1 month, is enough to have a structure and know what you're doing. No, all question in total. Not all question in total. Yeah, the questions all in total is 20. You have to you have to write 20 questions. I mean, you have to answer 20 questions, and there are multiple choices. And in those multiple choice, you have to answer 75%. So you have to pass 15 of them. If you pass 15, yeah, you're good. So that's when you pass 15, that's the beginning of your license agent. Then people can start begging to work for you, because sometimes some people have the license but they don't have the networking skills also. So but what they bring is they bring people who can do the job. They are just like, let's take for example CEO. But this also, you have to be smart on what I'm saying. Let's take for example, someone can have his license and decide to hire people that, okay, or talk to a group of people that, okay, I have this license, now you people can come and work under me, we can be an agency. But now, of course, you need the network. But if you have the network, then you just hire people who just do the scouting. You don't do anything of scouting, because people work like that. You don't the big agents, actually, they work like that because they have already developed at certain level, that they don't do anything of scout. They don't do anything like scouting. There are people who are just doing scouting for them, looking for players, bringing and putting in under their agency. Their job is just to network. So they have nothing to do with scouting, have nothing to do with most of the things. Their job is just to, because they're the face of the brand, they just walk around, have meetings with sporting director, have meetings with CEOs. They just book those times, building relationship. That's just what they do. Yeah, have your time. Yes, take you can and enjoy yourself, enjoy your game. Yes, you can. I'm going to. The video is always going to be uploaded normally because it's a live session. So don't worry. If you have time to come and watch it later, you do that online. So yes, enjoy your game. Okay, let's continue what we were speaking of. So core principles. The core principles are to rest of FIFA statutes are to respect human rights, zero discrimination. Let me what I mean by the zero discrimination is like race, gender, religion, etc. Of course, FIFA there's still a lot of difficulty handling this, but that's the rule that there should be no tolerance when it comes to gender, race, religion, etc. And then, as I said, for politics and religions, they are neutral, fair play, and then the next is fair play and integrity. They promote that. And then the next thing we look at relationship in football. FIFA promotes cooperation between association, clubs, players, and also resolve disputes. As we made mention that a player may have a dispute with a club, then you have to take it to is it this dispute resolution chamber to try to handle that. If they have something where it concerns agent whatsoever, you can take it to the agent chambers, anything that you want. So it depends whatever situation you have. Then you need the various chambers or you need the various places to go to handle it. And then we talk laws of the game, controlled only by International Football Association. That's the IFAB. So IFAB is this one also is something that can come because they can ask you what's the rule, what's the function of IFAB. Then they can ask you A, this, B, this. So IFAB also it's in charge of controlling the law of the game. So a trick question about this is that they don't create the law, okay? The law, this IFAB. So just to make mention so that people know, they are in charge of controlling the law, but they don't make the law. So those are things that you have to also know, be aware of. So conduct rules, number 6, conduct rules. Everyone must follow the FIFA statutes, the regulation, the code of ethics, and apply all this in football, which is quite normal. Now, membership. To become a FIFA member, you must be part of a confederation, must apply formally, and must follow FIFA rules. Okay, and then you also have to accept CAS, which is court of arbitration. And according to FIFA, only one association per country. So a little bit, just this basics. Let's take for example, only UK has because UK is that big. They have the four associations, and also those are things that you can just check. What are the associations of in UK? That you have is it Scotland, Wales? They have different associations there. But also you have to also know that apart from UK case, most country, but because UK is large, UK is in UK. You have England, you have a lot of countries there, so you understand. But for other countries, let's take for example where I come from. We have one association. Where probably you come from, any of you watching, you have one association. France will have one association. There's no country that have double association. So you understand what I mean. So each country is one association, and then members' rights. As a member, you have to participate. If you're a member of FIFA, you have to participate in the Congress. You have to vote for elections. You have to join competitions. And you have to access development program. Okay, those are members' rights. Then now, member obligations. Obligations for this is very important. They follow all FIFA rules, pay their fees, promote women football, prevent discrimination. So when we say follow FIFA, do you understand what I mean? So you don't go against any law that you don't have to go against. If they say pay fees, whatever fees it might be, like for you, you are trying to become a FIFA agent, the annual fee, those are the things that they are also like following the rules. You have to pay the annual fee yearly. Stay independent, no third party influence. So you cannot bring someone third party influence as it has already been banned in football. And now we talk of sanctions. Sanctions are like suspension, expulsion, loss of voting rights if you're a FIFA member. This only happens if you have broken the rules. Okay, so if you're a FIFA member, then you break the rules. So these are going to happen. And then we look at also, you have to know the Congress. I think this is also one of the things that they always ask in the FIFA status. I mean, if a question can come, they always ask about the Congress sometimes. So the Congress, you have to always know that it's the highest authority that makes decision. And each association has one vote for the Congress. Okay, then the next we look at the council. The council has 37 members and control majority of the decisions. Okay, then we also talk now of the president. The president, like for example, the president of FIFA now, which with Infantino, that we currently know, represent FIFA, leads the Congress and also the council. The general secretary handle daily operations for FIFA. Okay. Now also they can always come. This thing can always come when we talk of the confederation, of here. So the confederation also is one thing that many of you you have UEFA, you have CAF, you have AFC, you have CONMEBOL, you have CONCACAF, you have OFC. They manage football at continental level. Okay. So now let's say, let's take for example, like we had a situation that if the president of let's say a FIFA president is, let's say if the UEFA president is absent from something, then they take the next biggest confederation, which is like CAF. Let's say if UEFA which is like CAF, to try to handle certain situations. So always those are things that maybe you can have an idea of how it functions. But as I say, you don't need to pay too much time on this. You just need to know basic rules of this one, because you will not actually apply these things. These are not your department. But because you're writing the exam now, you will need to have a few idea. Because they can go and ask, how many confederation does FIFA have? Okay. So you start thinking now, you know of. So this is just like a question that you start thinking of UEFA, you start thinking of CAF, you start thinking of AFC, you start thinking of CONMEBOL, you start thinking of CONCACAF, you start thinking of OFC. So those are the things that you just have to know. And also in this FIFA status, is more about like definitions. So and there's always a confusion. Actually, as I said, pay attention to what is a Congress and what is a council. There's always a confusion. What is a job? What is the rule of a Congress? What is the rule of a council? So those two most of the time. Those are one of the things that when the exam is almost, you can have a question on. So they can talk about the Congress, but because they are almost similar, people might always confuse their role. But remember that the Congress is the highest authority, makes major decision. Each association has one vote for Congress. While the council has 37 members and controls majority of the decision the Congress makes. So, but people might confuse that always. So on this topic, let's just glance through. Let's glance through some of the exam questions on this topic, and then we try to look at things a little bit like the RSTP. If we can have time, let's get through the RSTP, because where you have more questions. So, okay, for example, the questions I had 20 questions here just to refresh your brain on what I've just spoken. What is FIFA? So, a league, B, a club, C, a global body, a global governing body of football, and D, a confederation. So the answer is C. And question 2, who controls the law of the game? So that's a good question. A, FIFA, B, Congress, C, Council, D, IFAB. So it's IFAB, as I spoke earlier. What is a league? A, independent body. B, subordinate to an association. C, part of council. D, governing body. So what is a league? A league is a subordinate to an association. So the association is the one who creates that league that people are playing, that people partake and play. So, and question 4, who is the supreme body of FIFA? So those are one of those kind of tricky things. Now I said that council, higher authority. So, but now if you go, I mean the Congress, if you go and confuse, if you are confused between Congress and council, you are always going to mess it up on your brain. So they say who is the supreme body of FIFA? You have council, B, president, C, Congress, D, confederation. The answer is C, which is the Congress. What does the council do? Okay, part of those two things. What A, daily operations. B, strategy and oversight. C, organized matches. D, train players. No, strategy and oversight. And then number 6, who represent FIFA? A, council. B, Congress. C, the president. D, secretary general. So the person who represents FIFA is always the president. Question 7, what most member association comply with? A, only national law. B, only FIFA rules. C, FIFA statutes and regulation. D, only league rules. So national association must always comply with the FIFA statutes and regulation. And number 8, how many votes does each member association have? I think I've made mention on this in the lecture. A, 2, B, 3, C, 1, D, it depends. So it's 1, as I made mention. Question 9, what is required to become a FIFA member? A, club approval. B, confederation membership, which is that confederation. C, player approval. D, league approval. So you must be part of a confederation to become, to start looking at if you want to be part of FIFA member. What is prohibited? A, fair play. B, discrimination. C, competition. D, transfer. So the answer is B, it's prohibited. So you see, this one are just like basic things that you need to have a little bit of common sense on this, most of the questions here. So question 11, who manages daily FIFA operations? A, the council. B, Congress. C, general secretary, is the general secretary. And D, president. So remember, this is general secretary. Again, as I said last time, when you spend your time, and then probably because maybe I may be fast, so those are things that you can try to also find time to go through the question, and again, and just listen it, then it will help you. It can help you a little bit digest what you don't understand. So let's move forward. Which body can suspend members? Okay, good one. A, president. B, the Congress. So the Congress is the body who can suspend members. So remember that. C, clubs. D, players. Question 14, what must FIFA promote? A, corruption. B, match fixing. C, integrity. Well, that's easy. C. D, bias. Who organizes FIFA competitions? So I think this we already know is FIFA. So FIFA. Question 16, what must association avoid? What must an association avoid? A, competition. B, independence. C, third-party influence, which is that C, third-party influence. An association cannot have a third-party influence. And then D, voting. And question 17, who appoints the Secretary General? So A, Congress. B, a council. C, president. D, confederation. So the answer here is B, which is a council. Question 18, what is required for status amendment? So A, simple majority. B, 75% of the majority, which is that. D, C, no vote. D, president decision. And then we talk of two more before I'll try to. Yes. Question 19. Who can propose FIFA president candidate? A, player. B, club. C, member association. That's member association, yeah. And D, an agent. Last question. What's FIFA rule? A, only competitions. B, only rules. C, governance and development. So it's C, and D, only transfer. So you don't have too much things here, but the idea here is just pick few things that you think that you have that they can be helpful here. So now I have some few questions, but not on actually the FIFA status. So that's a little bit of just basics things that I ran through. I looked at the FIFA status so that it can help. It can help you a little bit more the FIFA status. So those are basics. You don't need too much on the FIFA status, but I said just have a glance on it because when we started studying this, I wanted to go through a situation that I'll actually touch all the topic basically, so that at least it helps you. So if we have done the RSTP, we've done the FFAR, we've done FIFA Clearinghouse, we've done the Football Tribunal, and then now we are doing this. So probably we're going to almost round up with most other topics, and then it'll be easy. So I think we don't have too much again to do. So we'll be doing most of the time we just answer past questions and do other different topics, which will be helpful. Okay. So now let's look at this scenario questions. Okay, so question 1, you represent a player and a club in the same transfer. Both parties agree verbally, but nothing is written. What is correct? Okay, so A, what is correct? A, allowed because both agreed. B, allowed if agents decide. C, not allowed without written consent. And D, always prohibited. So the questions here is you represent a player and a club in the same transaction. So both parties agree verbally, but nothing is written. So there's nothing when it comes to football that people agree verbally. So try to always have a written note. So the answer is C, not allowed without written consent. So now let's look at minor representation. You want to sign a 16-year-old player. The player agrees, but parents are not involved. What happens? A, contract is valid. B, valid if the player is talented. C, invalid without guardian's consent. And D, valid if club agrees. So the answer is C. Valid is not valid because you need, when someone is an 16 years old, is a minor, you still need the consent of the guardian. Now we talk of approach to player. 3, approach to player. You contact a player who is already under contract with another agent. Okay, what is correct? Allowed anytime. A, that's A. B, allowed if the player responds. C, not allowed. D, allowed if the transfer window is open. So it's not allowed. You're only allowed to contact a player when it's almost like 6 months to his when it's almost 2 months to his representation agreement finishing. You can contact him then. So misleading information. You exaggerate a club's offer to convince a player to sign with you. What rule is violated? A, none. B, transparency. So transparency is violated. D, confidentiality. And D, competition rules. So it's B. And question 5, payment transparency. You receive a payment from a club, but do not inform your player. What is correct? A, allowed. B, allowed if small amount. No. C, violation of transparency. D, only tax issue. So it is C, violation of transparency. So most of these questions, most of these questions are questions that I would say you just need to keep reading, especially as I spoke about the RSTP and others. You just need to keep reading and looking and having time to refresh your brain on it. It's going to be more. It's going to be more easier when you start reading most often. But the more you don't read, and then the question becomes like challenging and difficult. Okay, but today I think that's that's more of the that's all. I just added a few questions of the FIFA status. There's nothing we can do on the FIFA status. So tomorrow now we are going to begin more with another topic. We are going to look at the RSTP more. We're going to look at the RSTP now more, and then we are going to do more of the questions. So we're just going to be doing, we can do RSTP, and then we answer a lot of questions. We can do FFR, we answer a lot of questions. Those two topics a lot, because I think we have touched almost everything. We are left with, let me say, the FIFA, the ethics code and the disciplinary code. We might touch some, but I think it's more also now important for me to focus on different things, and then also talking about networking coming back. So I just wanted to have time to go through this book and give you people a little bit of ideas how to read and interpret the question, so that people can gain some a little bit of gain some knowledge. Okay, so today I think will be short, and then but tomorrow we'll have more time because we will have the RSTP. Then we can, if we have time, I will just look at a good topic that we can speak more. And so yeah, that's it. Then we can look at RSTP or whatsoever topic it comes in mind. But tomorrow I will take time in the morning to look at that so that I can bring it up tomorrow. Then we can continue from there. We can also branch into things like networking, how to network, whatsoever we have. But also, if you always have a question, if you have a question, sometimes you can leave me the questions and ask your things. I can get people the information, then I bring it here. Okay. So today, 37 minutes looks like short day, but it's still a long video. It's just because we're always doing a 1 hour something video. So it looks almost like a short. So yeah, but let's see what do we have here. Okay, let me just add some few questions. Okay, acting without a license. There was one place say acting without a license. An individual negotiates a transfer without being a license. That's not possible. Okay, so what happens? A, nothing. B, warning. C, violation of regulation. D, allowed with experience. So the answer is C. You're violating the regulation. And as I said, if you're acting without a license as an agent, you the day you want to register as an agent, if FIFA finds out that you did a transaction without a license, your name is stripped or your name is banned. And as I said, normally when you talk to clubs, because most clubs also, you say you're an agent, they don't actually also. It's only when the negotiation is starting before they are looking at putting your name on paper. So if you go and put your name on a contract paper, and then it goes and it's uploaded on the FIFA agent platform, then at one point in time, you want to come and write the exam, and they find that your name is there. So that's where you're going to fill that eligibility rule. So most of the time when you register, you do the application. What they are checking, these are the things that they are checking. That has he been doing gambling? Has he been involved in a transaction before? So these are all the things that they check whether you're eligible to become a licensed agent. So most time it takes time. It takes time like that because they are looking if your name has something. Have you filed bankruptcy before for a bankruptcy? All those things. If you have been involved in money laundering or bankruptcy or gambling or whatsoever, all those things. So when if FIFA finds out, then you'll be taken off. You not meet the requirement to be an agent, because FIFA always look an agent like, if you're an agent, you have to be responsible because you are looking after someone's career. So that's why there's a lot of strict measure taken towards it about the eligibility requirement to become an agent. So before you register and as being accepted to sit the exam, you must have passed through a lot of what we call screening. Yes, so those are the things that will be happening. So let's take for example, there are a lot of people register, but at the end, FIFA, the question doesn't. I mean, at the end, you don't get accepted to write the exam. Why? Is because FIFA has gone and seen that you're not eligible, and you're not eligible based on probably they must have seen that the name of the person as an agent has been playing bets, football bets. You understand what I mean? Football bets is like, for example, if Manchester United is playing Barcelona, you're betting for those kind of teams, those kind of things. And so another thing is also bankruptcy. If you have been involved in a club, if you have worked for a club, then be involved that club has gone bankruptcy. They don't want they will say, okay, this person is not in charge of this person is not really responsible for handling someone's career, because when you are a FIFA agent, what they look into is like you are going to be representing your people, so you must be I don't want to say experience, you must be also capable to be able to handle certain things. So bankruptcy are one of those things that they don't allow. Gambling is something that makes you they feel like it's irresponsible, so you're not allowed, and all those things. So that's why you go through those eligibility requirements so that they see that you're not fault, you don't have a fault based on that. Good evening. Yes, good evening. Amayo from France again, from Lyon, France. Yes, you're welcome. This time you came, is it past 10? Probably you might have been busy somewhere, but nice to see you again that you're here. So, and also, so those are the things that when they say they are checking on of those eligibility requirement, those are the things that they're actually checking on. Yeah. And a lot of people fear that, not because probably they are not aware, because when you're as a normal person, when you're uh, gambling, I don't want the name gambling, but sport betting is a part of people living now these days, that they bet for a game, and when they get the scores right, let's put it that way, they get the scores right, and then they get the money. But so with FIFA, they don't ask when you're ready when to become an agent. These are things that 24 months prior to that, they are going to go and check the system if your name has something like that. So these are just the checks they do. Just trying to let you so that you are aware of what happens. And then let's look at dual representation. An agreement. No, dual represent. An agent represents both player and a club, but only if only the player signs consent. What is correct? I think we answered this already. A valid, B invalid. Yes, it's invalid. C valid if the club agrees. D letter no, it's invalid. I don't like this question. These questions are quite looking very easy. Because you're not going to have many easy questions. So that's just always a fact. Because in the exam, when you're writing the exam, there's no way you can just have a lot of easy questions. It doesn't work like that. You're going to have challenging questions. You're going to have few easy questions for sure. But the exam is never going to be that kind of exam that you just find yourself doing things that's more easy. Let me find some question. Let me look at something. I just want to spend time. Do you guys know? Let me say there's always a part on the study material. Let's go. I want to go through that study material. I'm going through the study material. Uh, oh, am I missing my word? I'm going through the study materials now like this. There used to be a part on the study material. Let's see that there were a lot of questions on it. Let's see. And the questions, I think it used to be on the old one, used to be page 600 and something. Let me go towards there and see if I can already. Okay, let's see. General. Okay, good. Whoa, table of content. Where can definition be found? What is an interest under FFAR? Okay, yes, let's look at these ones. Well, we're not going to answer much on this one. Let's just leave. So I'm going to the FFAR. Jesus, yes, there are many questions here. Let me give you guys some questions on FFAR. These ones I think they are almost most easy. Okay, let's see what it gives us. Okay, let's see. Yes, okay, let's continue. Let's look at. I just wanted to look at a little bit of a few things. Okay, let's look at what is an interest first. An interest. I think this is under FFR. This is one of the most. So an interest is like ownership, owning shares, or let's take for example, owning shares in a club, agency, academy, betting company. Okay, we'll look at influence, any ability to influence, like financial decision, managerial decision, commercial, administrative, whatsoever it can be. Uh, Even it's indirect. So those are things that yeah. And so who is a connected football agent? I think most people yes. So connected football agent is someone. Let's take for example, if you are like you work in the same agency, you own same agency, a family member, it might be a brother also. So that's a connected football agent. It might be a spouse, it might be a partner, it might be a son, it might be whatsoever it may be. So that's what we call connected football agents. And what are the key consequences? Connected agents cannot act on different sides of the same deal. So what they mean by that is, so you cannot move, and let's say you cannot have a deal, then one person is representing the other side, you're representing this side. So let's take for example, you have a deal with a club, and then another person is representing the club for the deal, and then you are representing the player, for example. So, but in an exception, they can do dual representation, but need written consent for both clients. So now, so what are football agent services? Because if you're trying to pass as an agent, what are football agent services? Football agent services are like transaction, transaction. They are transactions like transfer. You're in charge of transfer, contract negotiation, contracts, doing negotiations, commercial deals like boot deals, whatsoever it may be. Because most people, and also brand deals, let's put brand deals. Most people, the work of an agent is much more if you have a top player. If you have a top player in your hand, it's a lot more because you do things like brand deals. So I will give an example. So you imagine a player like Mo Salah or whoever player plays at that level. You imagine that his agent does not only deal, this agent does not only deal only with contract. His agent does not only deal just with um, just the club. the agent has to deal with a lot of sponsorship deals, Adidas deal, and brand deals from clothes. So those are one of the things that, as an agent, you need to master those things, brand deals and all those things, because they are things that you get a lot of if you are good at commercial, those commercial aspects as an agent. That's a massive thing in the industry. Then you're going to pull a lot of players, because there are players that are very top players, but because their agent is not that influential on that side of the market, most of the time they just always get but the basic contract or the basic wages that they need. Let's take, for example, if they get their contract with a club, negotiating with club, and then they maybe negotiate like bonuses, performance bonuses, and whatsoever thing that negotiate based on that. And it ends there. They might have one or two sponsorship deals, but players who have agents who are very smart, each time the agent is looking for a sponsorship deal that, of course, it doesn't have to affect performance, because clubs also have this tendency that you cannot just have a lot of sponsorship deals, then you are always tired, you're not prepared to play the game. I mean, you're not always ready to play. So most of the time, if you have a top agent, which is what most players are always like, this you have access to a lot of this. But it's not even about too much top. It's about your know-how, or your networking skills to know how to be able to influence those things and to be able to put yourself there. So that's one very important thing. Good evening, bro. Thanks for letting me on this platform. My name is Michelle Brown. I'm from Germany. I'm in Germany. Okay. Good evening, Michelle Brown. You're welcome. Yes. So are you trying to write the exam soon? Did you register for the exam? And anyways, you're welcome to the group also. Are you trying to write the exam? So as we're speaking, so that's one big thing that agents have advantage of. If you have an agent that has sponsorship, a good sponsorship, uh, networking skills to be able to, let's say, pull other brands to be able to, for you to associate yourself with those brands and get more deals from them, then that's a big thing. It also makes you become a global star, because there are certain players that uh, they play, but now at the highest level, there's a lot of PR. So there are certain players that they can be, let me say, not too world class, but because if they have huge PR around them, most of the time what happens is each time if he scores a goal, there's a lot of media attention because of his PR. His team working with him is that massive. And when you have a lot of PR, you start having, because you pull a lot of population, it start making brands follow you, even if you're not as good on the field as possible. Yes, you know that there are players that they might be not the best player, but because they know how to, let's call it, like, put themselves in the package themselves, put themselves in a good way, that they attract brands. It helps a lot. Okay, what is a transaction? National team participation in contract, not part of transfer system. Okay, but it's not a part. Transaction is not a part of transfer system. Not agent services. Not agency. Okay, and what would we call other services by agents? Let's say, because you always hear they say, what is the job of an agent? Is to negotiate contracts and look after the player and other services. So they always ask, what are these other services also? So part of those other services are like the sponsorship deal we're talking of, looking after the image right of the player, which is one of the most complicated things when you're doing brand deals, because when a club signs you, one thing that the club also wants to guarantee is your image right. You are, because your image right means they are in charge of always, they are always in charge of, let me say, let's take, for example, the big clubs. That's why you see most of the players they are doing. There's a day which is almost like photo days that they have to shoot photos and everything for the media. But now they always have a certain agreement also with the club that the player and his agent, that the player can work with certain brands. But you cannot just go and, let's take for example, have like so many brands to work with. Then, because when the club gives you contract, they always have this. They want to acquire your image right. But of course, now you have brands that they'll come into play. That is like your boot deal. You can have your boot. Let's say if you're working with a club and then you're under Adidas, you can go and shoot the photos for Adidas. If you have one or two other brands based on the negotiation with the club. But when the club also see that you're a too good global superstar, and then they know if you give them a chance for them to grab you and say, okay, your image right is just going to be based on them, which is these days it's not that possible. The club is going to take that. But of course, these days it's not that possible because there's a lot of knowledge out there that an agent can learn from his friend that no, your image rights does not belong to just a club. But what you always guarantee a club is that the moment you put pen to paper, you cannot refuse things like photo day. Let's take for example, if they are doing photo shoot, you have to be present. So those are your rights and regulation, your rights or the right of the club to tell you to come on those days because they need your image for the fans and whatsoever. So those are things that's very important. But we also have to know that these other services that I spoke about, like what are the other services like sponsorship deals, image rights, financial advice, scouting. Those things also where most agents also get their money. Also, is that it's from this place. So let's take for example, if you have a player and the player is earning, let's say 30K a week, and then you're having commission. Your commission is like 7%. So and you're being paid. Uh, let's if you run the calculation, I like to run the calculation on this. So let's do some a little bit of math here. So let's take for example, you have a player and the player is earning, is a top player, is earning 30K a week. If you make that 30K a week into a month, that is he's earning he's earning one to 120,000. 120,000. So if you take 120,000 euros, so if you take 120,000 euros and then you say your percentage was this in, you have let's put 5% because we're not going to put, let's say 5%, you have 5% of that. So if you calculate 5%, how much is it? 5% of, no. Let me see. I want to know this figure. Just let's see. 120,000. 5%. Let's see. I want to know. Okay, let's say 5% of 120,000. Okay, you have 6,000 euros. Okay, let's take for example, you have an agent in a month. The player earns 100. The player earns 120K in a month, and then you are in charge of 5%. Let's take for example, you are in charge of 5%. 5% of if you say you have a deal with him, a sponsorship deal with him, that you are earning 5% of that. 5% of that, if you calculate it every month, if you times that, so you are earning 6,000 every month. So that's extra money for an agent, for someone who's like an agent. That is away from your normal commission that you're being paid from, you're being paid normally, which is your service fee, So that's why the sponsorship deal, that's why most agents, when they get a good sponsorship deal, they try to negotiate it to be high because they will get more, of course, amount. They will get also more money from that. And also, it is not regulated. That's the big thing. It might not. It might be 5% for another player. It might be 10%. So this is not regulated. It's not like the service fee. Service fee is when you're negotiating a representation agreement with your client. You have what with service fee that you might put there. But now in the agency, sponsorship deals are not regulated. You might have even 15% of sponsorship deal as an agent, depending on how you look for the deal to the player. So that is not regulated by the industry. So that's why most agents, they do make a lot of money from sponsorship deals for from players, because that is not regulated. It's based now on them saying that, okay, I will try to get you a lot, let's say 3 to 4 sponsors, so that when you do photo shooting or whatsoever you are doing for them, you get this amount a year because you're a brand. When you get this amount, listen, my own commission will be this. So this is just how the agency work. Okay, let's go towards that. Let's go look at another one. So who cannot be an agent? Now we've spoken about an agent. Who cannot be an agent? This is also like a good exam question. Someone who cannot be an agent is like club owners. I think we were speaking about this thing the other time. Someone was telling me, asking whether if he's in a club, can he be an agent? Yeah. So one of the things, people cannot be an agent is like a club owner cannot be an agent. A club employee cannot be an agent, and a FIFA official also cannot be an agent. Even if you own what is 5% ownership, you cannot be an agent of those things. I remember there was this question. I don't know. There was this guy that was on Instagram. I've forgotten, but we were talking about a question who said, I don't remember, but it was just something based on like there was it a player talking someone who got let me say duped by an agent. Then then the club president said, because the president of the amateur club, the club president said he is the president, he has players that he's just representing as an agent. I mean, that he's just representing. So when I saw that case, I already saw that there's something wrong there, because even the president of the club, as a president, you can only speak to people who don't know the rules. But already I felt something tricky there, that the president, even as a club owner, if you say you have players that you are representing, it doesn't make sense, because a club president cannot be an agent. So it shows that there's something tricky there that was happening. So normally, just to continue on what I was saying, as a club president, you cannot be an agent. A club owner, you cannot be an agent. Anyone work, in fact, any employee of a club, those are the people that you cannot be an agent. But of course, if you are, let's say, if you have simple membership for a club, that is an exception. So the requirement of an agent doesn't. There's no requirement for an agent also, because there are questions that maybe people from the outside world always ask. What's the requirement of an agent? Is it a degree? Is it a language? As long as you meet the eligibility rule, there's nothing like, yeah, you can apply to write the exam. So now let's just look at few questions to run through as quick as possible, so that based on this thing I've just been speaking of, let's look at a few questions so that we just try to run through it. Interest. What is interest? Interest. You own 3% of a football club. Can you be a licensed agent? A, yes. B, yes, if disclosed. C, no. D, only inactive. So if you own any percentage of a football club, you cannot be an agent. Let's make it clean and clear. Membership exception. Number 2, membership exception. You're a fan of a member, or you're a member of a club with 1 vote. Is this an interest? This is a good question. You're a fan member of a club with 1 vote. Is this an interest? A, yes. B, no. C, only voting. D, only if paid. I think we just spoke about that last. So if you membership, if you have just membership, no, that's not an interest. So delivery means you can be an agent. Now influence, you don't own shares but influence club decisions. Is this an interest? Yes, it's an interest. But let's see, A, no, B, yes, C, only financial, D, only formal. So the answer is B, yes, it's an interest. And then question 4, connected agents. Two agents work in the same agency. Are they connected? A, no, B, yes. The answer is yes. C, only if family. D, only if partner. So that answer is correct. Is B. Question 5, family connection. Two agents are brother. Are they connected? A, no. B, yes. They are. C, only if working together. D, only if same country. So the answer is B, yes. So question 6, same deal restriction. Connected agent acts as opposite side of a deal. Is this allowed? A, yes. B, no, no, that is not allowed. We spoke about that already. C, only verbally. D, only transfer. Question 7, dual representation exception. Connected agents represent both sides with written consent. Is it allowed? A, no. B, yes, it's allowed. C, only for players. D, only for clubs. So the answer is B, yes, it's allowed. The question was, connected agent represent both sides with written consent. If they have verbal agreement, no. But if they have written consent, that's good. It's okay. Repeated cooperation. Agent collaborate twice and share profits. Are they connected? A, no. B, yes. When an agent, that happens a lot in the industry. When you connect with someone, let's take what they're trying to say is you can have a player, then you don't have any network to sell that player. Then you tell me that, hey, Brian, I have this player and I want him to move to to a league that you know. Do you have any league? When you sell the player, we might share the commission. Actually, most people work like this, but I don't always like to work like that, to be honest. But this is a big thing that most people do in the industry because the people, some people might have players, but they don't know where to give the players. I remember an agent contacted me from Hungary, sending me trying to send me players that are under 19, playing under 19 of Hungary national team and all those things. But I wasn't really interested in that kind of cooperation. But this is what happened a lot in the industry because I always feel like I like to do my network myself. I like to work a lot the network to be in charge. I don't want to do something like that. But those are legal things. Those are okay. And a lot of people do that. Because, for example, a player might be on your neck that move, I want to move, I want to move. You told me that you have connections. So most of the time the agent also can be under pressure to say, okay, I have to find someone that I feel has a network to help me. Then when that player sign, at least I can get just a percent. If he helps the player, I can get my own commission. So that's how most people do in the industry. So let's look at agent services. So negotiating a transfer is A, other services. B, football agent services. C, not regulated. D, optional. So it's negotiating a transfer is football agent services. Correct. Is B. Now, number 10, discussing transfer term is not a service. Football agent services. Only advice. Illegal. D. So I go again. Question 10. Discussing transfer term is A, not a service. B, football agent services. C, only advice. D, illegal. So it's B, it's already football agent services if you're discussing transfer term with an agent. Okay. Guys, I'm Shay Matthew watching from Nigeria. Hello, Shay Matthew. Hope you're doing well. Okay, guys, let's end here. If you came earlier, just or late, if you came later, you can still try to rewatch from the beginning because we spoke about this thing was about FIFA status. So I just wanted to touch on some few topics just to at least make it have some context, because normally I would have ended long ago, but at least I gave people already something about the FIFA FFAR. So tomorrow we're going to look also at RSTP, FFAR to continue from there. As I told you that those are the main two topics in the FIFA agent exam. So if you are coming a little bit late, early, I understand that probably you might be busy, traffic, whatsoever things. Yeah. For those most of you who are new here, I'm Brian Gaucho, FIFA license agent living in Finland. I got my license from 2024 uh 2024 year session. So you're all welcome here. I was late. Yes, so just try to go watch the from the beginning, from where it's, and then tomorrow we have, just if what I always say, tomorrow we start 9:30 p.m. Eastern European time. So we will start with more RSTP. RSTP is like one of the most important parts with FFAR. So tomorrow I can still look at those topics. Let's go through it again in a nice way, so that at least we answer, and then we finish with answering questions also from those topics also. So tomorrow, if you can already prepare yourself. If you come 9:30 p.m. at least we're starting then, so we can start to interact already and share ideas, or me, if you have any question you can always ask. So but apart from that, anyone who is new, or if you came late, you can just watch, you can rewatch this. Okay, so tomorrow same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern European time. So try to always convert the time, because 9:30 p.m. Eastern European time is different from wherever you might be watching. It's a different time. I think there's someone from here in Germany. It's different time from Germany, different time from South Africa, different time from what other time. So it depends. So just try to find your time and then convert it, and then we see it. Okay. So tomorrow 9:30 p.m. Eastern European time, we see again. We continue with the RSTP, FFAR, then with questions and answers. Okay. Bye for now. Bye for now, guys. I'll leave you and then talk to you, or see you tomorrow. Take care. Cheers.